It's 2 a.m. You promised yourself you'd go to sleep 2 hours ago, but your thumb keeps moving. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Just one more video. Your eyes are
Your
burning.
attention is under attack
Your body
from
is
flashing
exhausted.
digital content.
Yet your
This
brain
depletes your
refuses
focus,
to let you
leaving
stop.
drained.
Why?
Protect your brain from
Are you just
overload.
lazy or lacking willpower? Not at all.
Hi, I'm dopamine.
Your
brain's
brain has been
feel-good messenger.
hijacked by a
Look at this
perfectly
flood.
engineered
This
system.
surge is what creates that rush of
Welcome
pleasure.
to the invisible
Too much, and it
epidemic
can lead
of
to
the
addiction.
modern world.
Balance is key.
Cheap dopamine. Millions
We
of
scroll
people are trapped in
endlessly
this
chasing the
exact
detox
same
lie,
loop every
but
single
our tired
night.
bodies and minds can't reset
And the
overnight.
internet's favorite solution,
change needs
the
more than a
dopamine
quick fix.
detox,
It's about
is
real
largely
daily
a scientific
habits.
lie. To understand
Hi,
why you
I'm
can't put
dopamine,
your phone
your brain's
down
reward
and why
messenger.
detoxing
I
doesn't
travel these
work,
pathways, making
we
you feel
first
good.
need to look inside your head and
It's all
meet
about the
the
brain's
culprit.
reward system.
For decades, pop culture and self-help gurus have called dopamine the pleasure hormone. They say it's the chemical reward you get when you do something fun. But according to modern neuroscience and researchers at Stanford University, that is entirely wrong. Dopamine doesn't make you feel happy. It makes you crave. Dopamine is actually the hormone of anticipation and motivation. It is the invisible force that drives you to seek out rewards, not the reward itself. When you see a notification badge, dopamine spikes before you even click it. It's your brain saying, "Hey, look over there. Something good might happen." To see why this is a problem, let's travel back in time. For our ancient ancestors, dopamine was a crucial survival tool in a scarce world. Finding a bush of sweet berries in the wild triggered a small, healthy dose of dopamine. It motivated them to remember the location and survive. But human evolution is incredibly slow, while technological evolution is terrifyingly fast. Our brains are exactly the same as those ancient hunter-gatherers. Except today, we don't hunt for rare berries. We live in a 24/7 carnival of hyper-stimulating, artificially engineered rewards. Fast food, video games, infinite scrolling. Every swipe on TikTok, every bite of a glazed donut sends a massive, unnatural tsunami of dopamine crashing into your brain's reward center. Your ancient brain was never designed to handle this much motivation at once. And when the flood hits, your neural pathways start to violently protect themselves. To understand this defense mechanism, meet the dopamine receptors. Think of them as tiny, eager catchers waiting to grab the dopamine droplets. When you do something naturally rewarding, like finishing a puzzle, a few droplets fall. The receptors catch them, and you feel a healthy sense of drive. But when you consume short-form videos or sugary junk food, it's not a few droplets. It's a raging, aggressive waterfall of cheap dopamine. According to the National Institutes of Health, the average adult spends over 7 hours a day on screens. That is a relentless, non-stop flood. To survive this toxic onslaught, your brain does something drastic. The receptors put up umbrellas, close their doors, and simply hide. This is called downregulation. Your brain physically reduces the number of active dopamine receptors. It's trying to balance the system, turning down the volume because the music is too loud. But this protective measure creates a devastating side effect. We call it the lowering of your dopamine baseline. And it changes everything. According to addiction experts like Dr. Lembke, after a massive artificial spike, your dopamine levels don't just return to normal. They drop significantly lower than your original baseline. Now, let's look at how this invisible biological shift ruins your everyday life. You try to sit down and read a book or study for an exam. Reading a book only releases a few healthy drops of dopamine. But because you have heavily downregulated your receptors, those drops hit the floor. These normal, healthy activities barely register anymore. They don't produce enough dopamine to be caught by your diminished system. The world suddenly feels exhaustingly dull. In neuroscience, this numb, motivationless feeling is often referred to as a dopamine deficit state, or anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure from normally enjoyable things. This traps you in a vicious cycle. Because you feel terrible and empty, your brain desperately seeks a way out. It commands you to reach for the phone. You don't scroll because it's fun anymore. You scroll because you have to. You need that extreme, highly engineered stimulation just to feel a tiny bit normal. This is why you feel constantly burnt out. So, if modern technology is the poison, is the internet's favorite extreme solution, the 24-hour dopamine detox, the cure? Well, the short answer is no. The internet trend of locking yourself in a room, fasting, and staring at a wall for 24 hours to reset your brain is a complete myth. Dopamine is a fundamental neurotransmitter. You cannot simply flush it out of your system like a toxin. Your brain doesn't work like a smartphone you can just reboot. To understand what actually works, we need to look at a brilliant biological model proposed by Dr. Anna Lembke from Stanford University. The pain and pleasure seesaw. Inside your brain, pleasure and pain are processed in overlapping regions. They act like opposite sides of a biological seesaw, constantly striving for a state of balance called homeostasis. When you eat a donut or scroll social media, you drop massive weight onto the pleasure side. The seesaw heavily tips and you feel great. But your brain hates being off balance. To restore equilibrium, your brain's self-regulating system summons the pain gremlins. Their biological job is to jump onto the opposite side to balance out that extreme pleasure. As soon as you close the app, the pleasure drops off. But the pain gremlins are still sitting there. The seesaw violently tips into the pain side. We call this the dopamine crash. This crash manifests as that sudden wave of anxiety, irritability, or emptiness you feel the very second you put your phone down. It's a literal biological withdrawal symptom. So what do you do to fix this terrible feeling? You reach for the phone again, adding more fake pleasure just to lift those gremlins off the ground. If you do this every single day, your brain adapts by keeping an entire army of pain gremlins permanently camped out on the seesaw. This is why you feel constant baseline stress. Now, imagine going on a strict 24-hour internet detox. You instantly remove all pleasure from your day, but you have an army of pain gremlins still sitting on the other side. The craving becomes so unbearable that by day 2, you don't just relapse, you binge twice as hard to compensate for the extreme suffering. The cold turkey detox backfires completely. You cannot shock your brain into healing overnight. Rebuilding your dopamine baseline requires a gradual process of neuroplasticity, which takes about 30 days, not one. Instead of a total ban,
Let's see how micro-frictions block
neuroscientists
your flow.
recommend introducing
See? Your phone is locked away,
micro-frictions,
safe but stuck.
small physical
barriers
barriers
like this
that
steal your
force your
motivation.
brain to slow
Let's fix
down
that.
and stop the automatic swiping loop. It's not about removing all dopamine, it's about changing how you earn it. You need to flip the seesaw and do the hard thing first. But how exactly do you do that? The first thing you must accept is that your brain is not broken. It is plastic. It has rewired itself to expect high stimulation, and it can rewire itself back. In neuroscience, this is called upregulation. When the constant flood of cheap dopamine stops, those hidden receptors slowly begin to come back online. But they don't do it instantly. It takes roughly 30 days of lower stimulation for the pain gremlins to finally pack their bags and leave. Step 1 of the recovery is the identification. You need to identify your high dopamine triggers. Is it TikTok, video games, or perhaps sugar? We categorize these on a spectrum. Low dopamine activities like walking or reading are sustainable. High dopamine activities are the ones that tip your seesaw. Step 2 is building micro-frictions. These are small physical obstacles that break the automatic loop of reaching for your phone. The simplest friction? Charge your phone in a different room at night. If you have to walk 10 steps to get it, your brain has time to ask, do I really need this? Another powerful tool is grayscale mode. By removing the vibrant colors from your screen, you make the content look less like a reward and more like data. Now, here is the most counterintuitive secret to fixing your brain. To feel more pleasure in the long run, you must intentionally seek out difficult dopamine. Passive consumption is easy dopamine. It tips the seesaw toward pain eventually. Active creation or effort is difficult dopamine. It pays you back later. When you press through a difficult workout or a hard hour of study, you are pushing the pain side down first. In response, your brain releases dopamine to balance it out. This is the high-quality dopamine loop. It feels harder to start, but it leaves you feeling satisfied and calm afterward, rather than empty and anxious. To succeed, commit to just 30 days of lower stimulation. No infinite scrolling, no binge watching. Just 30 days to let your receptors come back to life. After 30 days, you'll notice something amazing. The world isn't boring anymore. A simple walk, a conversation, or a good book will feel vibrant and rewarding again. Take back your brain. Take back your life. This video is for educational purposes. Consult a professional for medical advice. Even if you try to reset your baseline, there is another massive trap you probably fall into every single day. Dopamine stacking. Dopamine stacking happens when you combine two or more rewarding activities at the exact same time. Like eating junk food while scrolling through TikTok. You might think combining them just makes the experience better. But neurobiologist Dr. Andrew Huberman warns that stacking creates an artificially massive peak. This extreme, unnatural peak guarantees an equally extreme, punishing crash. The pain gremlins don't just jump on the seesaw, they bring heavy artillery. But there's a worse consequence: neurological confusion. When you stack rewards, your brain loses the ability to attribute the dopamine to a specific action. It kills what psychologists call intrinsic motivation. Suddenly, just eating a delicious meal isn't enough anymore. Without the video playing, the food actually tastes bland. You can't even go for a 10-minute walk in nature without needing a podcast or music blasting in your ears. The silence feels deafening. You have conditioned your brain to require multiple layers of stimulation just to reach a baseline level of comfort.
You have broken the natural
reward loop. To fix this, alongside your microfrictions, you must practice delayering or single tasking. The rule is simple. Do one rewarding thing at a time. If you are eating a meal, just eat the meal. Put the phone face down in another room. Focus entirely on the taste and texture of the food. At first, it will feel boring, but within a few days, your brain reconnects the reward pathway. You will begin to extract pure, unlayered joy from the food itself. If you go for a walk, let your mind wander. No audiobooks, no music. Relearn how to tolerate your own thoughts. It rebuilds your attention span incredibly fast. By unstacking your dopamine, the peaks become smaller and more manageable. The pain gremlins have no massive waves to fight against, so they simply leave you alone. So, here is your ultimate toolkit. 1. Recognize that dopamine is about drive, not happiness. 2. Add micro-frictions to stop the cheap flood. And 3. Stop stacking your dopamine. Single task your rewards. Give your brain the space to heal, and the ordinary world will become extraordinary again. Now that you've stopped stacking rewards, how do you tackle massive, difficult tasks? The things that take months or years to complete? Most of us make a critical biological mistake. We focus entirely on the finish line, picturing the ultimate reward at the very end. But according to Stanford neurobiologists, if you only allow yourself to feel good at the finish line, your brain quickly runs out of fuel. The distance is too vast. Your dopamine drops, the pain gremlins take over, and you inevitably quit and reach for your phone. The secret of highly successful people is a neurobiological trick. They attach their dopamine release not to the reward, but to the effort itself. When you tell yourself, "I love the struggle, this hard work is making me better," your brain physically releases dopamine right in that moment. This is the neuroscience behind a growth mindset. The friction of the hard work becomes the reward, providing infinite, self-replenishing motivation. However, there is a dangerous trap here called the over-justification effect. It happens when you promise yourself an external reward for hard work. If you say, "I will study for 1 hour and then eat a donut," your brain actually shifts its focus entirely to the donut. It begins to view the studying simply as a painful obstacle standing in the way of the sugar. The effort becomes pure suffering again. To prevent this, neuroscientists recommend adopting a principle from casinos: random, intermittent rewards. It sounds strange, but it is incredibly effective. Why are slot machines so wildly addictive? Because the reward is unpredictable. Your dopamine system fires the hardest when it doesn't know what's coming. You can hack this system for healthy habits. After finishing a tough workout or a study session, flip a coin. If it's heads, treat yourself to a movie or a nice meal. If it's tails, no reward today. Just enjoy the post-work glow. This unpredictability keeps your dopamine receptors highly sensitive and engaged. Your brain stays hooked on the effort, rather than obsessing over the treat. To make all these habits stick, you must protect the most vulnerable time of your day: the first 60 minutes after you wake up. Most people make a fatal biological error. The alarm rings, and before they even get out of bed, they immediately reach for their phone and start scrolling. When you wake up, your brain is undergoing a delicate transition called the cortisol awakening response. Your dopamine receptors are highly sensitive and completely empty. Hitting them immediately with high stimulation content is like blasting a heavy metal concert in a sleeping baby's ear. It artificially spikes your dopamine baseline instantly. Because you peaked so early, the rest of your day is guaranteed to be a downhill crash. Nothing at work or school will feel rewarding because the bar was set too high too soon. The neuroscientific rule is simple: delay any digital gratification for at least 1 hour after waking up. Let your brain boot up naturally. So, what do you do instead? You execute the protocol highly recommended by Dr. Andrew Huberman. Go outside and get natural sunlight in your eyes. When early morning sunlight hits your retina, it sends a powerful electrical signal directly to the master clock in your brain, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This light exposure does two miraculous things. First, it triggers a healthy, natural release of dopamine to give you focus. Second, it starts a biological timer. Exactly 14 to 16 hours after that sunlight hits your eyes, your brain will release melatonin, ensuring you get deep, restorative sleep that night. And no, looking through a window or turning on room lights doesn't work. Even on a cloudy day, outdoor light is thousands of times brighter than indoor lighting. Want to supercharge this morning routine with difficult dopamine? Step into a cold shower for 1 to 3 minutes. The friction is immense. According to the European Journal of Applied Physiology, cold exposure triggers a sustained 250% increase in dopamine levels that lasts for hours, without the crash. By doing the hardest thing first thing in the morning, you actively push the pain seesaw down yourself. The gremlins are completely neutralized. You've earned your dopamine through effort. Now, when you sit down to tackle your most difficult tasks, your brain is fully primed, focused, and truly unstoppable. We've covered a lot of neurobiology today. To make it actionable, let's condense everything into the ultimate dopamine master protocol to reclaim your life. Step 1. Build microfrictions. Put your phone in another room. Step 2. Stop stacking. Eat without watching. Walk without listening. Single task your rewards. Step 3. Chase difficult dopamine. Let the friction of hard work be the reward. Step 4. Protect your first morning hour with sunlight, not screens. If you stick to this for 30 days, your brain's downregulation will reverse. The pain gremlins will leave, and your baseline will naturally rise. You will no longer need extreme, hyper-stimulating spikes just to feel normal. That broken playground seesaw transforms into a strong, stable, and resilient bridge. Remember how we started? Trapped in a dark bedroom at 2 a.m., mindlessly doom-scrolling because your brain was screaming for cheap, empty stimulation? Now, look at the difference. When your baseline is healthy, you fall asleep peacefully, your attention span returns, and a simple book feels genuinely captivating. We live in an attention economy. billion-dollar tech companies spend endless resources engineering algorithms specifically designed to hijack your ancient neural pathways. They want to keep you hooked, scrolling, and craving. But understanding how your dopamine system actually works is your ultimate defense mechanism against them. You are not lazy, and you are not broken. You are just operating a prehistoric brain in a highly unnatural, hyper-stimulating modern carnival. By intentionally choosing the hard path and embracing a little bit of boredom, you give your mind the necessary space to heal and reset. And when it does, the real world, your relationships, your goals, and your own quiet thoughts will become more vivid and fulfilling than any screen. It's time to stop letting algorithms dictate your motivation. Step away from the cheap flood, embrace the effort, and take your life back. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe and share it with someone who might be stuck in the loop. We can break it together. The information in this video is for educational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice. Please consult a doctor before making health changes.